Howdy. Today I'm going to show you the differences between the two kinds of aggregate expenditure. Our first example is aggregate expenditure, also known as Y. We calculate this by taking consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports to find our aggregate expenditure or GDP. Our other type of aggregate expenditure is planned aggregate expenditure, PAE. We find this by taking C, as in consumption, plus planned investment, plus government spending, plus net exports. The main difference between the two, as you can see, is that aggregate expenditure covers investment, while planned aggregate expenditure covers planned investment. As you can see, once again, the two equations between the differences between actual and planned. Think of planned investment rather than actual investment, as in how much the individual across the entire economy planned to originally invest versus how much they actually invested in the year. So depending on if the country is going through an economic boom or recession, we can see that the actual number will consistently, in a long scheme, will be consistently moving in between the planned line. However, the planned aggregate expenditure line will always stay still. Now, let's focus on planned aggregate expenditure. Planned aggregate expenditure, when more concise down, you get PAE equals A, which is autonomous expenditure, plus B, which is the marginal propensity to consume, times Y, also known as the national income. So as we see, there's multiple factors of autonomous expenditure. Some examples of this are some parts of consumption, such as basic consumption, things that you have to do no matter what, because even with income changing, you're always going to be spending a certain amount of money. Government spending, because government spending isn't affected by income. Planned investment, you had already planned for this investment to begin with, so it shouldn't change. And then net exports. Additionally, now let's move on to more of the marginal propensity to consume B times the national income. As you see, the marginal propensity to consume is B, and then the national income is Y. What the marginal propensity to consume is saying is that for every additional dollar you make, how much of that dollar are you going to spend? So, for example, if you were to receive a $1 raise per hour from your boss and you decided to spend 50 cents of that every dollar you make, your marginal propensity to consume would be 0.5. This can go as big as any amount of raise to any kind of money. So, for example, say you got a $100,000 raise and you spend $50,000 of that raise, your marginal propensity to consume is still 0.5. And then the national income is just overall how much the people inside the country are making on a year-to-year basis for that year. And then as an example, another tidbit about the marginal propensity to consume is that it's actually the slope of the PAE curve. As you can see in this graph, in the PAE curve, we said the graph starts here at around 230, 235, and then ends at around 750. As we know, the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So first we can identify our first point, which is, we'll do that as our first point because we know that's our Keynesian equilibrium. And then we'll find another point on this line. We'll choose this one, for example, and we can calculate the slope for this line. So to start off, we need to find out what y2 and x2 is for this point. We know that y is 500, as in this side of the axis, and then we know x is 500 because it splits perfectly down the 400 and 500. And now for our second point here, while it's a little bit harder to see what it is, but the number right here for y is 320, and then as you can see for x, it's 200. So if we take 500 minus 320, we get 180. And then if we take 500 minus 200, we get 300. And then 180 divided by 300 is 0.6. So once again, as we see in this original PAE equation of 195 plus 0.6y, we know that the marginal propensity to consume 0.6 is also the slope of the PAE curve. Thank you for watching my video.